Hello, Steve White, Trekboy89 for Steve Arts 89. This is an interesting one. This has come up a little while ago. It first came up a little while ago. The idea that the producers of Strange New Worlds were going to include Kirk in Strange New Worlds somehow, which doesn't really make sense, except obviously at the end of the series when Pike gives the ship over to Kirk. The understanding was he was on the Farragut, which was another ship, and then he got the command of the Enterprise from there, and he didn't actually serve on the Enterprise before captaining it. But considering they do whatever they want, they don't care about canon, and they're basically working in an alternate universe with a different timeline, a different licensing and everything, they could in theory have Kirk pop up and be on the ship in some capacity. So there's that issue, the canon issue, but then the other issue was, the talk was that for some reason they felt the need to make him bisexual. Now, being a gay man, I'm not opposed to that. I don't have any issues with that. I don't think there's enough representation of gay men. We have a lot of gay women in TV shows because, frankly, men like the girly shows. So it's not as much of an issue, and it's not as much an achievement if you can get a lesbian on a show because, frankly, the old white guys who are the ones who are opposed to homosexuality don't mind girly shows. So often that's what that amounts to, which the women are trying to actually create real lesbian characters and everything, and I get that, but the only reason why they're allowed to and why they often get exploited is because the people running the show don't see them the way that they see them. So I'm not trying to undermine their attempts, but I'm saying that's usually how it goes. So there should be more gay men. There's not enough gay men kissing and men kissing on shows. There's plenty of women, but not enough men, because men kissing and being gays are disgusting, horrible things as far as straight people are concerned. Women, it's a fetish that men like. So because we live in a patriarchy, men allow that, but they don't allow the other because it offends them, blah, blah, blah. So I don't have an issue with it in theory. When they made George Takei's Sulu gay, a lot of people did that when he came out, but the character was always straight. Well, actually, the character was never defined in the show, but he was George created him and played him as gay. So when they made him gay in the movies, and oh god, I've suddenly forgotten his name. The actor John Cho, who played Sulu in the movies, they made him gay. They were doing it as a tribute to George, and George was a bit annoyed because he's like, my character wasn't gay. You can't just blah blah blah. But different reality. Different everything, it's fine, whatever. But I was surprised that he was as offended as he was, that he didn't just sort of take advantage of that as representation as a good thing. I wanted to talk to him about that. Unfortunately, it happened after both times I met him. So we have this whole issue. They're thinking of making him gay. Now, why would they do that? Now, for starters, it is very clear that Kirk is straight. And Willaim Shatner basically... The whole point of this video, or the whole inspiration for this video, is the article Willaim Shatner calls fans who think Kirk could be bisexual moronic. That's very much a clickbait title, which is why I didn't lead with it, because it's kind of cheap. But technically he did, but that's not what he's saying. It's a bit deeper than that. Shatner is a bit of an idiot. I've also met him, and he was hideous, and I don't ever want to meet him again. I didn't even want to meet him. I just was there to meet other people, and I thought, well, I may as well get his signature as well, and he was horrible. So I respect him as an artist, as an actor, as an icon, but as a person, he's just trash. But and most people have met him that I know have said that, and I've heard some people recount some very cringe-worthy encounters with him over the years. He's been to Australia a few times. Enough of that. It's not about that. So yes, he's come out and he's basically said, no, he's straight. Changing him to be straight would be... presentist, I think he was calling it. What is the term they're using? Basically, it means applying present-day norms or issues to old shows and old characters and things like that, which is a bit unfair. And there were some good arguments, though. There are some people arguing, he was basically saying the character wasn't gay, he was written as straight, and he couldn't have been gay back then because there's just no way the show would have been aired. George Takei did speak to Gene about the possibility of a gay character or Sulu being gay, and he was just like, I'm struggling just to keep like Uhura on the show and Chekhov on the show and deal with the things I am under the guise of like aliens and using science fiction to get these stories, there's no way I could actually have a real issue like a homosexual person on the show. There's no way I can do it. And that's pretty much the case. And it is unfair to put those sort of standards on the shows or the characters or whatever. But the arguments other people have, which I actually think are pretty good, is that number one, of course, it's not the 60s now. We can make a gay Kirk and there shouldn't be an issue, which is true, or a bisexual Kirk, which shouldn't be an issue, because frankly, okay, I'm going to try and stay in one lane for a moment. So there's that issue, and people sort of saying, well, he spoke. This is not today though. This is the future. So it is more likely that a man would be bisexual in the future because being gay wouldn't be an issue. The gay stereotypes and norms, stigmas, none of those would be around, so it wouldn't be an issue. So a lot more guys would be bi and it wouldn't be an issue. So there is no reason why Kirk, a future character written in today, can't be bisexual, and that's totally true. There's no reason why he can't. Doesn't mean he should be, but there's no reason why he can't, and it probably is more realistic. And when you look at the other issue, which is aliens, like the fact that Kirk hooks up with aliens, they're usually female presenting ones, but that doesn't mean anything really. As Marta pointed out in Star Trek 6, not everyone keeps their genitals in the same place, Captain Kirk. So the idea that if you're okay with having sex with aliens, why would you have an issue with having sex with the same sex? So that kind of makes sense. If people are okay with having sex with aliens, why would they still be hung up on just standard sexuality issues, homosexuality and stuff like that? So it does make perfect sense that he will be more likely to be gay or bisexual in the future. The argument also is that we're all on a sliding scale of bisexuality, and some people are more bisexual than they present because of how they've been raised or stigmas or fear, and with that freed up in the future, people who are bisexual will be more likely to express that and so forth. So I get all those arguments, and I don't totally agree with Shatner's arguments for why he couldn't be gay, because people were making the point that he could be, and he was saying, but he's not. I'm like, well, yes, he's not, but he could. There's so many reasons why he could be, like the fact that it's not the same Kirk. They are in a different... The prime timeline that was created for the JJ movies, which Discovery is linked to or an offshoot of or part of or whatever, either way, or a separate universe, it's not the same universe that Kirk and Spock were in. It's not that Kirk would not be the same Kirk that grows up to be the one who takes the command of the Enterprise in the original series and goes on to be in the movies. It's a different Kirk. So he could be bisexual, gay, just like Sulu was gay in the movies. So that's not an issue either. And I think they're being a little bit harsh on him. He's being close-minded about it because, number one, it's not his character. It is a different character. If they were going to go back into the canon universe and make Kirk gay, that would be jarring and unnecessary and weird. But to do it as, like if they'd made the Kirk in the new movies bisexual, wouldn't be as much of an issue. And he's not playing it. They're not asking him to play him gay. So it really shouldn't be an issue. But he posted a few tweets, and they are more intelligent than I thought. If Kirk were bisexual, then Star Trek would never have happened. It would not have influenced Star Wars, and it would have been a blip in the history of the Roddenberry family. How is it you don't understand the social constructs of the 60s? Why did Stonewall happen in 1969? If it was okay, well, because it wasn't okay. We're not talking about making him retroactively gay. We're talking about making him gay in a new show, because in the future he's more likely to be bisexual and it wouldn't be an issue. All the things I said before. And a lot of people sort of countered him, and he's being kind of close-minded about it. But certainly more intellectual than I thought. He could have just been like Trump supporter about it and just been like, my character isn't gay. He could have gone down that ranty, scary route, like, a lot of people would if you tried to say that they or maybe their father or relative or someone in their history was gay. They'd get really offended and animated about it. He said, I'm so tired of presentism and moronic people who continue to place today's value systems on the past to judge. They cannot comprehend that the fact that they have the freedom to judge. The fact they have the freedom to judge is because of what brave people did in the past. Education needs a wake-up call. And this is true. People do judge shows like Star Trek based on what they expect now and their understanding of the moment, and they don't sort of understand the history and the context of the shows at the time, and there's a lot of ridiculousness about that. And he continued to debate with people on that, and I think he's kind of losing the debate on some level, because no, his character isn't gay, and yes, changing him to be gay retroactively would be ridiculous, changing the character currently would be ridiculous, but having a different version of that character be gay in a future setting, in a contemporary show, shouldn't be an issue. And he's actually said, in some ways, he would be okay with it, which is weird. Like he said, I suppose some of you want my reaction to the article from the Never Heard of Them Before and Clickbait Rules site on their scoop on bisexual Kirk. If at CBS, at Alex Kurtzman, and at Star Trek decide to make Kirk bisexual to align with cancel culture presentism, then it's okay by me, which I think is actually not okay by him, but he's sort of saying it is. So I've never seen any signs of Kirk being, of Shatner being homophobic or anything. He's definitely a misogynistic pig, and if you're in a room with women, you're invisible to him. He just looks at the breasts in the room. He's an absolute pig. But yes, I resented the fact that I was invisible. I wanted to speak to him, and I had every right to, like everyone else, but he was just looking at the breasts in the room and being incredibly rude and dismissive and just gross. I don't have anything good to say about Shatner. I only met him a couple of times for a few moments, but nothing good to say about him as a person. But so they just go through this, and I think I'm done with the argument basically. So saying he called fans moronic is a bit harsh. His resistance to the idea of a alternative Kirk in a new contemporary show, about this future character being bisexual, is a bit close-minded, and he probably should just relax and just embrace it as a positive thing, because the idea of Kirk being bi doesn't have to change a lot about his character anyway. It just means he'd have the odd run-in with a guy, and he just wouldn't be limited by heterosexuality. It doesn't mean he has to suddenly be gay and be hooking up with everyone. So, but a lot of people are seeing it as an attack because they're homophobic, and they think, well, making Kirk gay is like degrading him or reducing him in their image, and then they can't see him as this great, straight, strong sort of macho hero because now he's been made retroactively bisexual or gay, because you can't be bisexual as far as homophobic straight people are concerned. If you're even just, it's like the one drop rule, like you're just a little bit gay, then you're totally gay because you're like dirty, you're defiled. So they see this as an attack on their character, that this is people trying to destroy Kirk. I don't see it that way. I'm thinking maybe some of the people in the production crew who hate those toxic fans may be doing it with those motives, but I don't think it's actually a bad thing organically to have a bisexual Kirk. Like I said, not making the old Kirk retroactively bisexual, but making this new alternative universe, alternative timeline, prime timeline, Discovery, Disco timeline universe, whatever you want to call it, making that Kirk bi, I'm not bothered. So I had to talk about that because I had heard about this, and I'd heard Shatner basically said, he's not gay, but I didn't sort of realise it had gone any further than that so far as the debate. I thought it was more of just a throwaway line and a throwaway response, but it's more of a debate now. As they're getting closer to the production, I still don't see why they'd have Kirk in the series, but they don't care about canon. But I can't make that argument anymore now that they have established that it is linked to the prime timeline and it's not the original Star Trek, so there is no canon for them to adhere to anyway. So I don't know, just have at it. I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think, maybe even ding the little bell, you might see some other videos. I do want to know what some people think about this, because I do find it curious. I read the article about 20 minutes ago, and I'm like, I have to talk about this. But I hadn't really thought it could be that complicated when it first came up, like weeks ago or months ago. I didn't really think much about it. But yeah, let me know what you think. Thanks. Bye.